Raghunath, are you ready for this?
What?
The wisdom of the sages trainings that are going on.
Where?
At the Eco Village, the Govardhan Eco Village in India.
Why?
To totally transform your life spiritually.
Who?
You, me, Radha Swami's going to be there. Other great teachers are going to be there. Lots of cool people.
How?
You go to wisdomofthesages.com/events. You find all the information there.
Haribo.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Woodside, California, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to San Francisco. We cruise down from the retreat center. We're at Kent Putnam's house right now. In this, it's kind of like a little Ayurvedic retreat center home. This is great. I'm getting some, kid you not, I'm getting some Shirodhar done to my third eye, in hope for some opening of the third eye. It's been very closed lately. I'm here live with Jyotima and Srinivas from the Waitsfield Inn in Vermont. They're hanging with us today. And of course, Mara's working the control panel. Stuba, how are you?
Honestly,
You're wiped out, I can tell.
yeah.
Look at that. Look at that, like, sleepy, happy face.
No, I'm I guess sometimes the travel just wears you. I guess it was a busy schedule too, the whole thing. But
Yeah.
I'm happy, but just like a little rundown.
We had a great time at the festival, Camp
Yeah.
2022. And, me and Mara snuck out in the beginning of the program to go to, I always wanted to go to this place, this really like healing mecca of Harbin Hot Springs,
Mm-hmm.
which is like these super hot baths and super cold plunges back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like that. We did that till we were exhausted and dehydrated, drank a bunch of fresh spring water, and then chanted japa in the sun, did a manasa puja in the sun. It was so nice because it gets very cold in the morning in that climate, and then it gets very hot. So it's sort of like we came when it was freezing, and it was a really great experience.
You're avoiding the
elephant in the room.
Yeah, the elephant in the
The
room.
elephant in the room was everyone was naked. It was clothing optional.
Right.
And surprise, surprise. I figured clothing optional. Who's going to go naked? Everyone was naked.
Everyone but you.
Everyone. I thought like some people would be like I thought it'd be a 50-50 split at least. But I will say that, there's something really to, if you're a person who struggles with sex desire, all you got to do is see people naked and you'll get over it real quick.
Okay.
I was like, this is the least. I am so not sexual after that experience. Oh my God. People put some clothes on. This is horrible. Yeah. I don't know. It's just not, it didn't bother me at all. It was awkward. People, and it was silence. You had to be in silence. So that was a little difficult for me. That was harder. I had clothes on, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. Mara had clothes on. No, a bathing suit. Not like a sari, but anyway, and it was also silent. You couldn't speak. So that was a little tricky too.
Okay.
Because I was like trying not
and no
to
electronics, right?
Oh yeah.
Some naked guy walked up to you
Came
and
up to me.
started-
I had this watch on, which I forget is an electronic watch. It's an Apple Watch. And so some strikingly beautiful naked man came up to me at the
That was
water
the only.
fountain.
Sounds like he was the only one that you were attracted to there.
He was quite attractive, right, Mara? Right, he was like a beautiful hairless man. Came up to me, striking blue eyes. He goes, "There's no electronics here," and I go, "Oh yeah, there's no talking here either." I like trying to shame me. You're gonna try to shame me, Mr. California. I'm gonna shame you right back. Yeah, there's no talking here. And he goes, "I work here." I go, "Oh yeah, I work here too. Where do you
lie?
Where do you work? Where do you work?" And he goes, "I work down in like the restaurant." I go, "Oh yeah, my great grandfather built this place.
You
Get
didn't
the
say
hell
that.
out of here."
You didn't say that,
I
right?
didn't say that, but That was my
Put some
morning.
clothes on and get out of here.
All right, you're off the naked list. I should have kicked him right off the naked list. It's amazing when you speak with confidence, people just believe you. He was like, "You work here? I have never
Ask the
seen
bright
you
light.
before."
Ask the bright light of Vermont about that.
Yeah, poor bright light. We almost got her again with another prank. I told her about Ayurvedic sea snakes sucking the oh God. Yeah, you put them on your knees, they get rid of inflammation. She's like, really? Sea snakes? I was like, you've never heard of those what are they?
Leeches.
The leech therapy? It's an Ayurvedic thing. She's like, well, I heard of that. She's like, how do sea snakes do that? I was like, well, there's toothless sea snakes. They're a little bit, they're not huge. They just go on your knees, they suck out away your inflammation.
So for Kelly Skinner, anytime Roghunath mentions toothless, that's a red flag. There's a very good chance.
Kelly Skinner, she's
Well,
you know what?
truthful.
You know what I've realized about the bright light? She's just got a good heart. She's just got a good heart, and she's ready to believe and trust people. And
we teased her. We did pranks.
It's a very endearing spiritual quality.
But despite her experiences.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we said, you know what? You're a great sport, and you're just a good person right down to the core.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, better than us, Raghunath.
Well, she's much better than me. It's just she's very undented, loving family.
Yeah. Okay.
She was never hit either.
She
told me this morning. I said, your father never hit you? She's like, no, never.
Mother?
His mother never hit you either.
Maybe that's why she came.
Did you get hit, Costilla?
Yeah, I got hit.
I got hit on the regular by my dad.
But we're not talking about that today, Raghunath. We're moving on to more positive. Yeah, you're drifting. You're drifting, Mara. Yeah.
First of all, there's no show tomorrow because we'll all be traveling. Well, Castile will be back in New York, but there's no show. Rago and I are on a red eye. And then we have an asana class with Zeb at 4 p.m. for our Patreon members.
He's the best.
He is the best. There's a Back to Recovery group meeting today at 1 p.m. And then Genevieve's giveaway ends on Friday, I think, is when she's coming back on the show. So be sure to email officialgenevieve@gmail.com if you're interested in a pair of tickets to Genevieve Harrison's concert at a city near you. Put in Wisdom of the Sages giveaway in the subject line and what city, and maybe you'll win a pair of tickets.
Okay.
She's done it. Genevieve's done it. She's made it to the next level of kirtan stardom.
Okay. I mean, I
don't think that's her goal, Prabhu. I don't think that's her goal. You're trying to come on, cut me some slack. I'm just saying
she's
she's
going to Hollywood
well
or something like that. Okay,
she's doing well for herself.
Okay, all right, Raghunath. Let's get into it. We got a new week, and we got a new Nugget Master.
Ooh, all right. So we're back with a new nugget, and it's Richard Rohr.
Would you like me to tell you a little bit about Richard Rohr?
Yeah,
Richard Rohr. It's a little hard to say the name. It's a little bit like Scooby-Doo when you say it. Richard Rohr. But he's a wonderful. He's a wonderful. Well, I'll tell you about him. Richard Rohr is an American Franciscan priest. Okay, Raghunath?
Got it.
Franciscan. I would like the Franciscans. I think Saint Francis just really had incredibly deep realizations, and something about the depth of his integrity, just like it continues to live. Yes, it lives through his people. So Richard Rohr is an American Franciscan priest and a writer on spirituality. He's based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was ordained in the priesthood in the Roman Catholic Church in 1970. In 2011, PBS called him one of the most popular spiritual authors and speakers in the world.
Oh, wow.
So he writes books. He's got a lot of interesting things to say. So
I've never even heard of him, except for everybody's like, you should get Richard Rohr.
Then you have heard of him.
For another week. No, I mean, just last week I heard of him. I don't know how
You never heard of Richard Rohr?
I never heard Richard Rohr.
Okay.
I know a lot of people you've never heard of.
Right. No, he wrote a book called Falling Upwards. You didn't hear about that?
Oh, yeah.
And Kaylee kind of wrote a song about that. I think he named his record Kaylee Woods, who's touring with
Kaylee Woods. Kelly Woods. You love Kaylee Woods.
No, I love him.
Come on, Prabhu.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Read the nugget.
Okay. Faith is not for overcoming obstacles. It is for experiencing them all the way through. This is where people get this idea, Kostuba, about the whole idea of spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing. You're overlooking the real issues and hanging on to some spiritual quote. There's things right in front of your face. But I think people have really practiced this. I think he hit it on the head here. People are really practicing spiritual life in the most genuine way, or not running from their problems. They're actually facing them.
All the
What's
way
running
through.
away from your problems? Immersing yourself in television series on a regular basis.
Right.
Just going on vacations to forget the pain of existence.
Right.
Any type of intoxicant.
Right.
Food, shopping. This is
Hold
running
it.
away.
We're not allowed to eat food.
No, there will be no food. Food is a running away from your problems.
Okay.
No, it's whenever you try to medicate your thinking process, with some substance, or some, vacation, etc., romance, etc. This is not a way to experience reality. But so a genuine spiritual path will take us deeper, with the pain of this world as well as the joys of this world, and see it in perspective.
So, yeah, I think it's important to get this idea that we might turn to spirituality because of the suffering that we experience in this world. And then we kind of hope that the obstacles that we see as the cause of our sufferings will disappear because we got spiritual. But really, the teachings, the spiritual teachings, were meant to actually still go through those same obstacles, still go through those same troubles, but with some wisdom to pass through them with, that helps us interpret them in a different way and help us grow through them, right? Yeah. So it's not to avoid the obstacles, it's to go through them with the faith that's going to help us grow through them.
By the way, I don't disagree with a lot of people that criticize religion as a way of just like sticking your head in the sand. Religion can easily be a club to join where you have a group of people and you meet at some holy place. And there's a social aspect to it, and there's uniforms, and there's different rules you opt into, but it can also be a way of sort of escape. It can be a way of escapism. I'm not saying that's not true. I think the community can help you on your spiritual path, but they can also divert you from your spiritual path. I think everybody as a spiritual practitioner has a responsibility to start to dig into their own soul. And hopefully your spiritual tradition has some tools to dig down and uncover those layers of false self.
I think that's why Richard Rohr is bringing it up. He's speaking to a religious community, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But this reminds me of Bhagavad-gita, Raghunath. I'm going to take it to the Gita.
You want me to guess which one? Faith is not.
No, I mean, you can if you want. You have a guess?
Yashastra vidhim utstrija vartate kamakarta, huh?
No, I wasn't thinking of that.
Okay. Then I don't know.
Okay.
For the doubting soul, there's neither happiness in this life nor the next.
No need to doubt. What I was going with was towards the end of the Gita, 18th chapter, text 57 and 58. But text 57 says, in all activities, just depend upon me. But Krishna speaking to Arjuna, he's about to have to go into the battle, right? Mm-hmm. Krishna says, and here's that faith, right? In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. And then this is a verse, I really love this verse, Raghunath. It somehow, in recent years has become one of my favorite Gita verses. Much chitta sarvadurgani, mat prasadat tarisyasi. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. Right? He's not saying that you're not going to face the obstacles in life, right? But with our consciousness rooted in what we're hearing from these, wisdom texts, we pass through them and we grow through, and Krishna's saying, prasada, through my grace, through my grace. I'll carry you through those. Not that you don't face those times, but he carries you through them.
Read that whole verse again, please.
The whole verse, I didn't even read the whole verse. He said, if you become conscious of me, you want me to read the previous one as well?
Sure.
Okay, so in all activities, just depend upon me. Because, Arjuna was saying, I need to avoid these activities. I need to avoid the obstacles. I need to walk away from the battlefield, right? He's saying, no,
Sure.
stay on the battlefield, but depend on me in that battle. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me.
Mm.
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. And then he says, if, however, you do not work in such consciousness of me, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
This is quite wonderful.
This is a powerful verse,
Yeah,
right?
it's a powerful verse.
Did this one
What-
never grab you before like
It
this?
never sort of like hit me, but now it will. What are the numbers? 1857?
And 57 and 58.
Wow.
I mean, it continues. Shall I read it more?
The verse continues itself?
No, like the next verse. If you do not act according to my direction, right? And according to these brilliant spiritual teachings that were like shared here, and do not fight and do not stand up and face your obstacles in life, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to engage in warfare. In other words, you need to come over your conditioning one way or another. So let's face it and do it with, with wisdom and with faith.
Mm.
Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act the same, O Arjuna. And then he's the famous verse, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Surrender unto him utterly, O Arjuna. Surrender to God in the heart utterly. By his grace, you will attain the transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode.
Okay, that's everybody's homework today. Listening. You can start with 1856 or 57.
57, 58.
57. Read 5 verses today.
Okay.
That's great.
And think about them, meditate, and then reflect on them, right, as you go through this. I got another little Richard Rohr one that kind of relates. You ready?
Richard Rohr? Yeah,
Yeah.
come here.
Richard Rohr. He says, before the truth sets you free, it tends to make you miserable. That's pretty good.
Ooh.
So, you take that truth and you go through the obstacles and maybe you endure a little suffering, but you grow through it. Then as you grow, you get set free, right? Frees you
That
up.
is a good one. Before the truth sets you free, it makes you miserable. That's
It
a
tends
takeaway
to make
there.
you miserable.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Richard
Ready?
Rohr. Okay. I like him. All right. Well, let's dive into the Bhagavatam, Senor.
Let's do it.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiriyat. Before we start on Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Okay.
Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, everybody.
Mara?
Mara?
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 34.
Her little head just pops in the scene. Mara was sort of like a celebrity this weekend.
Yeah.
People were coming up
like
to her.
Mara.
You're Mara? You're Mara? She's like, yes, I'm Mara. Yes, I am Mara. What do you got for me? Gifts? Jewelry? All right. Text
So-
34?
So the queen is speaking to King Puranjana,
Mhm.
or you could say the reasoning faculty within the mind, or the intellect, you could say, is speaking to the self, to the soul, and beginning to seduce him, right? At first he was like saying, oh, my reasoning, I'm meant to engage with my reasoning to inquire, about what life is all about, how we got here, what I meant to learn, where this all goes, what is life, all about. Now he's let go. He didn't get any satisfying answers from the mind. She didn't have anything to say.
Mm.
Instead, he started to think about, okay, well, how do I enjoy with you then? And so now that's where he's going, and she's taking him down that road.
Okay. Oh, great hero. We only know that we are existing in this place. We do not know what will come after. Indeed, we are so foolish that we do not care to understand who has created this beautiful place for our residence.
Okay.
So this is the living entity in illusion, correct?
Yeah. Again, it's his intellect has now given up on trying to find out what life is all about, right? We don't know.
There's people you meet like this, and there's just sort of like, you try to get a little philosophical with them and talk with them, and they're just like, you know what? You can't know this stuff. Just you can't know these questions, and that's the people that really stick their head in the sand. You can't
Good
figure
point.
these things out, huh?
Good point. I like that. Yeah, that's sticking your head in the sand.
That's really sticking your head in the sand. When you say I can't know, or can't be known, or how do you know? That's what human life is for, to figure these things out.
It's really unimaginative, uncreative. Like it's, it's like, come on, let's try to figure this whole thing out.
Let's try, yeah.
There's
and people, and then it gets so overwhelming that it just can't be done. And then you got to bring, when things like that happen, you got to bring it back to the simple. You know what I mean? Or
Sometimes
else
it
can be too overwhelming. God's a blue cow herd boy. Oh, there's spiritual planets. Oh, we're transmigrating through different bodies. Oh, there's life on the sun. What? It's like you'll hear something fantastic. The deity is God, or it's just like it's too much, and people are just like, no, I'm not going to walk down this path. So then you got to take it back. Instead of throwing everything out, you take it back to the simple. I got to control my senses. It's important to control my senses. I got to control my mind. It's important to control my mind. When my mind is controlled, I'm more peaceful. I should see spirit in every living entity. I should treat everybody with dignity. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Take it down to the things that you can really digest.
Yeah, I think people, they get lazy. I think most of these objections to spiritual thought, they're really superficial. It's like, come on, man. Like, aren't you willing to dig a little deeper? We're talking about like the meaning of life. Are you not willing to dig a little bit deeper? Like someone will say, like, well, you can't know these things. Or they'll say, well, there's all these different religions. They all just disagree with each other and they fight with each other.
And
so none of it's true.
They end the question. Yeah, they end the search right there.
Yeah, and the search. That's just the beginning of the search. You're just taking your first little baby step. That one's not too hard to get over. It's like, yeah, well, maybe there is why don't we look into them? Maybe we'll find some common truth in all of them. Maybe people that are religious, that are fighting with each other, they're clueless people that haven't really penetrated deep into it.
Or they're looking
for that
for
possibility. You know,
or they're
couldn't that
looking
be a
for the
possibility?
differences. You look for the differences, you're going to find a different. You're going to find a difference with identical twins if you look hard enough.
Okay.
Why not look for the commonalities?
Yeah, and see if there's something there that improves your life. See if there's some truth there, something that rings true. Why not search for that? Why not at least engage with it, like seriously, right?
Yeah, we're not saying have faith just for the sake of faith, but take a baby step, apply the stuff to your life, see how you feel, enter the experiment.
Or you could watch television all day.
I know that's not an answer.
Yeah.
No one you know what I do, Kostuba?
What?
People always talk about, oh, you should watch this series, or you should watch this. What do they call it? Series, or no, they don't. Show. They call it a show.
A series of shows.
All right, whatever it is. Like
when it's Netflix, one, they call it a show or nothing. And then when there's several of them as a one whole, they call that a series.
People like sort of like TV shame me. They're like, yeah, you don't watch that? Oh, everybody watches that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm an adult. I should really have some, I should understand. And my kids do it to me too sometimes. You don't watch that, Dad? Oh, you're so good, Dad.
Squid Game. You watch the Squid Game?
Yeah, my kids watch the Squid Game. They're always, I watch the Squid Game. So I was like, yeah, everyone's watching the Squid Game. I should watch the Squid Game. And then I watched the Squid Game, and I'm like, what? Why have I watched the Squid Game? Why have I watched this?
Now I like the
octopus
3
teacher.
episodes
into the Squid Game, and I still don't learn it by episode 1. I mean, I have to go 3 or 4. And then I get to this point, it's like, I
hooked into
think the
garbage.
Squid Game is actually going to fulfill my soul. What was
Nah.
I thinking? But I get lured in by temptations of this, and it's a real distraction. Now you can bring your spiritual consciousness to these shows and say, yeah, I can see the lesson here, or this or that, or it can help me in the way I think about life and death, but generally it's to forget about the days ups and downs, and you just want to zone out. So yeah, how did I get talking about that?
Well, we're
I
saying
feel like
that it's unimaginative, it's uncreative, it's lazy. It's sticking your head in the sand, not to try to figure out what life's all about, you know?
yeah,
And then they may kind of, someone that's nihilistic or, skeptical may look down their nose at other people who are penetrating more deeply into it. But what are you doing with your time and energy?
what are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
You accuse me of spiritual bypassing.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Come
Come on.
on.
Come on.
Come on used to be like a regular part of the show, Ragnar. That used to, in the early days, come on was like one of your things.
I know. I got to
It's-
bring back some of my famous cliches. Come
it's-
on.
It's still
Think it through.
in the intro thing that we play before the show, right? But you don't say
Yeah.
it anymore.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Let's bring back come on. What else did I used to say? Hurt people, hurt people.
No, but like come on was like a thing. Like nowadays you still do things like so what or what now or something like that. Like
Big
come on
deal.
was one
What
of your things.
now?
Big-
So
yeah.
what? What do you think about back of Stuba?
Yeah, that was a big one back in the day.
Okay. Now I just go. Now instead of vintage wisdom of sages, now instead of going, what do you think about back of Stuba? I just go, huh?
All right, next verse.
Oh, great hero. We only know that we are existing in this place. We do not know what will come after. Indeed, we are so foolish that we do not care to understand who has created this beautiful place for our residence. My dear gentlemen, all these men and women with me are known as my friends. And the snake, who always remains awake, protects the city even during my sleeping hours. So much I know. I do not know anything beyond this. What's the snake represent again?
The snake is the prana, right? It's a 5-headed snake.
Oh, yeah, the 5 pranas.
But Prabhupada talks a little bit. Maybe you want to look into the commentary on this one a little bit. It talks about how this. I would like to understand this more. Ayurvedic people understand more about this kind of thing, but like
5 pranas.
the 5 pranas. But that there's this. What is the role of prana? Like I still haven't quite put my finger on it exactly. Like I know. Like for instance, if we're saying that the
Opens the eyelids, helps you evacuate and give birth.
it does all these things physically within the body. You see, like again, we've been using this analogy sometimes, right? Like that the mind's the computer, and that the senses are the plug-in devices like the camera and the microphone, etc.
What could the prana be?
Well, this is my point.
Circuits.
Well, if you say that the soul is, you see, we say the soul is the user,
Yeah.
but the soul is kind of also the battery. It's kind of the thing that turns the whole machine on. But prana seems
Maybe
to be
prana's
something
the
like
battery.
something like that too.
prana's the
Prana
battery.
somehow. So
The battery isn't the user.
Well, so what I was saying is maybe the user is using it and simultaneously like pedaling a bicycle to energize to create the electricity to run the
Yeah,
computer.
for all those like pedal computers you've been using lately.
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to make it work, but now it's getting a little contrived, I admit. So why don't we look at the you
pedaling now?
You run on a on one of those things, right? One of those
Treadmills.
but you're not generating any energy from it, Raghunath. You should be,
I know. Imagine
charging
if
up a battery or something.
captured energy, going to the gym and capture all that wasted energy.
Yeah,
We have such a crazy culture.
it's
We-
bizarre
Just hundreds of people doing Stairmasters.
because
And
we
it's
have
just
these
wasted
jobs where you
energy.
don't actually work, like your body, right? And then you got to go to that gym. You pay money that you earned at work.
And after you pay money for the gym, you pay money for the trainer at the gym. Wait a second, I just bought a gym membership. Yep, and now you got to pay for the trainer.
Just to spend the money that you earned at work, and you need to go to the gym because you don't do any physical work at work. Maybe
Yeah.
if you just did physical work, you wouldn't have to go to the gym and pay for it. You could keep the money.
Yeah, people don't work.
All right, let's find out more about prana.
You hang out with me and Banjo Mike someday, and we're using chainsaws and splitting wood. The last thing you're going to want to do is go to the gym afterwards. You're not. Your job is like you're devoid of a physical job. When you're done, you're just like, now I got to go work out.
Some gym owner's gonna get the idea of, oh, let's put a chainsaw in here and some wood, right?
They should
and
have
let people paid
splitting.
to use the chainsaw.
Yeah,
work out.
Pick up different weighted axes.
Okay, let's hear the purport, Raghunath.
Puranjana inquired from the woman about these 11 men and their wives and the snake. The woman gave a brief description of them. She was obviously without full knowledge of her surrounding men and women and the snake. She was obviously without full knowledge of her surrounding men and women and the snake.
So in other words, the men were the senses.
Okay.
The women were the desires.
Yeah.
The sense objects, you could say. What?
I'm reading.
Oh, go ahead.
As stated before, the snake is the vital force of the living being.
So this is the vital
force, the prana. This vital force always remains awake, even when the body and the senses become fatigued and do not work. Even in the state of unconsciousness, when we sleep, the snake or the life force remains intact and awake.
Almost like when you have a computer and it's shut down.
It's still on,
but there's still the time,
buzzing. Yeah.
There's still that something alive in the computer, keeping the time, the clock going, and so on.
Yep.
It's the prana.
Even in the state of unconsciousness, when we sleep, the snake or the life force remains intact and awake. Consequently, when we dream, when we sleep.
Consequently, we dream when we sleep.
Consequently, we dream when we sleep. When the living entity gives up this material body, the vital force still remains intact and is carried to another material body. That is called transmigration or change of the body. And we have come to know this process as death. Actually, there is no death.
Nope.
The vital force always exists with the soul. And when the soul is awakened from the so-called sleep, he can see his 11 friends, or the active senses and the mind with the various desires.
Okay, so when you were asleep and we're dreaming, we're still hopefully like enjoying, right? I mean, in this we're still trying to enjoy in the dream.
Depends on the dream, my friend.
Yeah. Well, and then when you're awake, it also depends on the circumstances too, right? So then you wake up and then you engage those senses again to enjoy. You go to sleep, the prana keeps you aware, right?
Ever have one of those dreams that was like very good and you're like, and you wake up, you're like, oh, it was so good. I want to go back into that dream.
I don't have too many of those, I don't have too many of those.
You ever wanted to go back into a dream?
No, I have. I'm not saying I never have.
I mean, it's totally Maya. It's like that's what Maya is. It's like, I know it's not real, but I'm going to enter it anyway. I was like, I got to go back to bed. I want to enter, and you're hoping, and please let me go back right into that dream.
It's another one of those micro macro things, right?
What? Yeah. Yes. Micro macro Fibonacci spiral. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing when I hit the snooze button. I'm trying to get back into the dream, but that's what we do in the material world. I want to forget my issues, so I medicate my pain to enter back. I know it's illusion. It's obvious. I'm drinking spirits, or shoving something in my mouth.
Or even without that, though, I'm just saying, like, you wake, you're in a dream, which is the micro form, and then you wake up and you're in this big world, and that's just like the macro dream. And we're saying that there's a reality beyond that dream too, right? The dream is a dream within a dream. You wake up and you're in the original dream, and then you wake up from that and you're in reality, and that's the spiritual realm.
Man, I met this devotee yesterday. It was just talking to me about. Do you remember Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj?
Of course.
The devotee that brought me to Manipur, I met again yesterday, Jivan Mukta.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy. And he brought me to Manipur when I was a brahmachari. And you couldn't get in back then. You had to they had to get special visas to get there. And I had the good fortune of going to Manipur. And he so I've known him for like 30 something years, and he was at that festival.
Is there a connection here, Raghunath? Is there a connection?
We were yes, there is, my friend.
Okay.
Because we were reminiscing.
Usually, you give a little
about-
hint before you give a little hint like, I'm going to share something that's going to tie into something, just so that I know that we're not like totally drifting off into another.
Well, he was saying that we were relishing the association with his guru that had passed away, and his guru was this PhD professor.
Manipuri.
Maybe
people don't know where Manipur is. Right?
Manipur is a state in India, but for many years it was a restricted state.
And it's a state in the very northeastern corner. So it's like the people there, they don't look like the rest of they have a bit of like a East Asian,
Eastern Asian twist. It's really close to Burma.
It's a beautiful culture.
Very beautiful culture. They've always been wrought with some not religious, but just
Spiritual.
local strife, between different tribes and locals in the city. So, as a matter of fact, a great teacher, Bhakti Swarup Damodar, who was his guru, I got to spend 2 weeks with, just traveling around Manipur. It's like a life-changing experience. Here's the interesting point, aside of my point. When you spend quality time, but that quality time could be even a moment with a great soul. They do something definitely affects you, changes you. It's sort of like just moves the trajectory somewhere else.
That's a beautiful thing to think about, right? Here's something to strive for in life, right? Try to become the kind of person. It kind of happens without you trying it. You just try to become deeply good and deeply spiritual and deeply dharmic, and then you can move through this world. And there are people like that, right? That everything that they do, you come in contact, they have a positive effect on you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll never forget the time I was with this person, my friend's guru, and it just let a strong impression on my consciousness. And then this person, and he ended up dying. Sadly, he ended up leaving his body.
I was at his samadhi ceremony at Radhakund.
Ooh, really?
I remember.
There's a lot of Manipuris who live in Radhakund. They have there's some
little temple there, Manipuri temple.
Yeah, it's very far away. And they came in the old days, like they would go on pilgrimage. They'd walk all the way to Britain.
Well, the thing is, because Gaudiya Vaishnavism is alive there in Manipur, right?
Yeah, it's big.
So they have a particular interest in Vrindavan and in Radhakund.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
Narottam Das Thakur went there. So anyway, talking about this. Tie it in, Raghu. Okay, here's my point. I
was talking about dreams and macro.
Okay, so here, my friend, he said, right before my guru died, he said, it's as if he knew he was going to die, and he was saying things like, "You have no idea, like what the spiritual world is. It's so much different than what you're experiencing right now. For whatever you're experiencing in this world, you have no idea. This place is the complete opposite." But it was spoken with the way he said it was like spoken with such firm conviction of the illusions of this world. And let's face it, there are times in my life and in your life where you're very sober about the illusions of life, and you're like, that's total nonsense, right? But there's times where we're sort of like intrigued by Maya, intrigued by illusion. Imagine when you get to the point where you're like, that's Maya, that's total Maya, that's total Maya. That thought is Maya, that action is Maya. This whole thing is, you're not averse to it, and you're not attached to it. You're just walking through the whole thing and understanding, like a movie set. That's what the material world is. It's like a movie set. That's not a saloon. That's like a movie set.
Okay, a saloon.
Well, I'm thinking of like
I got you. A Western thing. I got you.
Western,
right.
A Western. Yeah, a saloon.
You walk through those doors.
What's a saloon? I guess it's like a bar. Why do we stop calling them saloons?
I don't know, Raghunath. I don't know. Now, Chapu has shared a little verse here on the chat board that's appropriate.
Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sastre Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Even a Lava Matra, even a tiny, the verdict
I think
of
a
all
Lava
revealed
Matra is 1/11th of a second.
The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that even a moment's association with the pure devotee, one can attain all success. You know what I find, Kostuba? When you get around great souls, one of the symptom of a great soul is like when you get around that person,
Yeah.
you get to this point where like, I've got to upgrade my life. I've got to raise the bar. That's my takeaway from associating with a person. Like I want to upgrade my bar. I want what that person has. It's
Yeah.
a good thing. It's a healthy thing.
It's a healthy, and even it has that kind of like, we all need a little bit of pressure in life too. And sometimes this pressure isn't even in the form of like shaming or anything like that, but it's just kind of
No.
like, I want to be able to stand before that person, you know, as their follower. You know what I'm saying? Like that's been an important part of my life. Like you and I we grew up in our spiritual life with you could say like positive male influences, right? Men that we
and female
admired.
influences and
Yeah,
female
yeah.
influences.
Okay, I'm not Raghunath, I'm not saying that we didn't have positive female influence, but I'm saying we were brahmacharis, we were monks, and we were being trained by
Yeah.
men, especially, right?
Yeah.
And they were role models, and
Mm.
and we were like, okay, I want to be like that when I'm their age, you know, like I want. Now we're older than them. I don't know if we made it or not.
By the way, sort of Swedish wrote on the board, this happens in my sage group every Sunday. We lift each other up as we don't want that hour and a half to end. It's such a beautiful time. It's a gift.
Sage groups.
Sage groups.
We're in week 10 of the sage groups of a 16-week like series or whatever.
Yeah. If you're unfamiliar with that, that's when a lot of the people of our community get together and they join a group, and then we're going to do it again. But that's important because it's that sadhu sangha or association with people endeavoring on a spiritual path that lifts us.
Yeah. And my point is,
high.
in about 6 weeks, we're going to open it up and start more groups. So that's an opportunity so soon we'll be reaching out and letting people know if you want to get in a sage group.
All right.
Once a week. Yeah. So my point was, Raghunath, that we had these positive influences, and it kind of would instill a feeling in you like, I want to be one of them. I want to be part of that team. I want to kind of emulate that.
Right.
And that has like a powerful, it gives one strength. You know, it gives one strength to like say like, okay, you know, when I'm tempted to kind of like respond to my lower nature, I'm not going to do that because I want to be with them, right? I want to be able to stand before them, with them, you know.
Living in my lower nature. Take a bit.
Let's hear more about the prana.
The prana?
Actually, there is no death, right? The vital force, the sleep.
What would it be like if everyone in the world understood there was no death? Would there be like chaos? Would it just be like looting?
I think, well, the positive spin would that if you understand that there's no death, then you probably karma goes along with that. Yeah, your karma goes along with that. So what will be my next birth? I better be careful how I behave, how I treat others, because I don't want to end up in, say, like what kind of body would you not want to end up in, Raghunath?
What kind of body?
Worm?
Sea snake? Slug?
Toothless
sea snake?
Yeah.
When the living entity, when the vital force always exists with the soul. And when the soul is awakened, and when the soul is awakened from the so-called sleep, he can see his 11 friends or the active senses in the mind with their various desires. The vital
in
force,
other words, when you're asleep, you're trying to enjoy you're just enjoying in the mind.
Yes.
When you wake up, you plug back into the senses and you start to engage with them again.
Even during our sleeping hours, we can understand by virtue of our breathing process that the snake lives by eating the air that passes within this body. Air is exhibited in the form of breathing, and as long as breath is there, one can understand that a sleeping man is alive. Even when the gross body is asleep, the vital force remains active and alive to protect the body. Thus, the snake is described as living and eating air to keep the body fit for life.
Okay. A little bit about prana there.
Okay, next verse. This is verse 36. O killer of the enemy, you have somehow or other come here. This is certainly great fortune for me. I wish all auspicious things for you. You have a great desire to satisfy your senses, and all my friends and I shall try our best best in all respects to fulfill your desires. So this is illusion.
Yeah.
We want to dive right into the illusion, like head first, excited about it. Our sense objects are welcoming us. Our desires are getting fulfilled. But can they really be fulfilled, Kostuba? Can one's material desires actually? Is there a satiation of the senses? I say nay.
You're a naysayer. You've been waiting to break out nay since we talked about it last week, I think. Right?
My dear Lord, I have just arranged this city of 9
Oh,
gates.
I was gonna say we could do two things. We could read this whole rest of this chapter, and I think it might be a good thing to do. Let's do
It's
that.
52. It's 5:52 a.m.
Yeah, no, but you see, because it's just going to reiterate like the analogy, the allegory. So let's just keep going. Let's see if we can finish the chapter today.
I say nay.
I say yay.
I'm going to bring nay back into my vernacular.
Okay.
My dear Lord, I have just arranged the city of 9 gates for you so that you can have all kinds of sense gratification. You may live here for 100 years and everything for your sense gratification will be supplied.
Okay, so you got a body for 100 years. You got your reasoning faculties saying, "Hey, let's use this body to enjoy. We got 100 years to do it. I'm going to be engaged in pulling in things for the senses. Let's go."
No fun. It's so tempting and it's just not fun. Indulgence never makes you happy. People try to preach that too. You know, even the Kostuba, they're like, you know what? You're just hung up by some moral authority. You have to let go.
You see, that's what I was telling you about the Church of
Satan to
Satan.
the senses.
That was the Church of Satan stuff. That's their philosophy.
And do it, try it. You've never done that. You've never completely talked to people who go to 12-step programs about the joys of letting go and fully indulging into your senses. It's miserable.
And then even sometimes these so-called spiritual teachers from India, they start to create these absurd philosophies that are just based the divine yes. Just say yes.
I've never heard that.
Just
say
yes.
out there.
It's out there.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, it feels so good for a moment. Now I feel horrible. It always ends with this mantra, people. What have I done? What have I done? What am I doing? Come on, live a life without so many regrets. Don't give into this senses. Okay. How can I expect to unite with others who are neither conversant about sex nor capable of knowing how to enjoy life while living or after death? Such foolish persons are like animals because they do not know the process of sense enjoyment in this life and after death.
So now she's going to the mind is going to say, hey, this is within the Vedic context. So the mind is going to say, we can live even in a pious way and enjoy this world like crazy. Let's do that. And especially that happens within the realm of family life, within sexuality, you know, the home and all of that.
Sexuality.
Excuse me?
The woman continued, in this material world, I'm like partially delirious and tired today.
Yeah, okay. Just keep reading.
It was one of those things where I woke up. You know, I like to have a lot of rituals before I do the podcast. A lot of spiritual rituals.
You didn't do your rituals today?
My ritual is like wake up and talk. Wake up and start talking and pray to God that I have something clever, some insight here today. And all I got is sexuality.
Okay. You could have just kept reading, but
the woman continued, in this material world, a householder's life brings all kinds of happiness in religion, economic development, sense gratification, and begetting of children, sons and grandsons. After that, one may desire liberation as well as material reputation. The householder can appreciate the results of sacrifices, which enable him to gain promotion to superior planetary systems. All this material happiness is practically unknown to the transcendentalist. They cannot even imagine such happiness. So this is the sophisticated way, the very conscious way of enjoying refined sense gratification. You want to enjoy your senses? We got you covered here too. We got it all. You want indulgence? We got that, but refined indulgence. It's actually more pleasurable, right? You want liberation? We got that. You want pure bhakti? Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam It is the big reservoir. It will fulfill all your desires.
There you go. You just kind of summed the whole thing up, Raghunath. Like, if you want material enjoyment, the Vedic literatures can show you how to do that.
Just show you how.
If you want freedom from the sufferings, it can show you how to do that. But if you want, and where the Bhagavatam goes, is that there's something beyond all of that, though, right? What's that, Raghunath?
The woman continued.
What? Are you even listening to me? I just asked you a question.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was a rhetorical question.
When I say, and what's that, Raghunath? That's not a rhetorical question.
It was.
So my point was that divine love is where it all goes towards. Okay, go ahead. The woman continued.
Uh-oh. Mara said we should end on time.
Yeah, you're not going to make it. I tried. It didn't work. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
All right,
so then-
Mara. We need some takeaways for our day today. In the course of the day, there's many ups and downs. We're taking a flight today. Kostuba's about to jump in a Uber and head right to the airport.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, whenever you travel, there's ups and downs you got to face. Lost luggage, overpacking. Kostuba at the check-in place, digging through things, throwing things out. You're 2 pounds overweight. Lose something. It's a whole trip at the airport. So give us some type of wisdom to bring with us. So when Kostuba's struggling, checking in that luggage, he can have something to lean into.
Faith is for experiencing obstacles, not overcoming them.
Good.
That was the opening statement, right?
Yeah, well, it's still good. You can still take it away. But let's get the mic a little closer to Mary.
Okay. Medicating your problems brings more problems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Before the truth sets you free, it makes you miserable.
Ouch.
Take it back to the simple. Control the minds and senses and see spirit everywhere.
I like that. Take it back to the simple. Don't get intimidated by the esoterica. Take it back to the simple.
All right.
If you're looking for the differences, you'll find them.
Yeah. We could do a whole show on that.
Okay.
What's so funny?
Good role models and association uplift and encourage us to raise the bar.
Join a sage group.
Raise the bar. Jump high. You might fall short, but we're jumping high.
Yeah.
Cultivate sobriety toward the movie set illusion of the material world.
The saloon.
The movie set illusions of the material world.
Indulgence never makes you happy.
I mean, it's fun.
It depends what you're indulging in. Makes you happy for a while.
Joyous.
Bhagavatam fulfills all.
What did I just say? It doesn't make you. It doesn't make you joyous. It can give you some happiness. I mean, some temporary happiness.
Some pleasure.
Bhagavatam fulfills all desires.
Bhagavatam fulfills all desires.
And Squid Games will not fulfill your soul.
Tried it. Didn't work.
Squid
willing
Games.
to give it another chance.
I didn't watch Squid Games. I don't know anything about Squid Games, but I did enjoy the octopus teacher.
That was good.
That was a good one.
That's a little bit more soul fulfilling than the Squid Games.
Yeah.
Speaking of multi-legged beings from the depths of the ocean.
Toothless
then
ones.
of course, there's SpongeBob. Now, SpongeBob does fulfill the soul.
I've never seen SpongeBob once. I don't even know anything about SpongeBob.
Oh,
I know he's
really?
square. I know he's got pants, but I'd never seen one episode, even 30 seconds of one.
Sometimes when I get out of shape a little, I look a little like SpongeBob. I'm a little boxy and square. No show tomorrow, everybody. What are we going to do without a show? Just walking around like zombies. Lori and Chief Paggery walking around the streets of Newport like, where are we? What do we
It's
do
like,
now?
wow,
What do we do?
What? They're kind of like you at the beginning of our opening thing. What? Where? Who?
Henry and David wandering the streets of
Why?
Georgetown. What do we do without the show? Well, I got to tell you, you're going to have to read the Bhagavatam on your own a little. You're going to read some. How about read those verses, those Bhagavad-gita verses from 1856? While you're there, read 1855. And Tarun, my son, my 8-year-old, is on his 5th shloka. 5 shlokas, you get $10. That's my rule in my household. You learn 5 shlokas, you get $10 and a goodie.
What you should do is you should increase the reward as he goes. So then he's going to start to develop momentum.
Like a mini bike?
Like if he starts after he learns 5 shlokas, it goes up to 150 per shloka. And then after he gets up to 20
Wait,
shlokas.
that's going lower. It's $2 a shloka.
Oh, okay. Then it goes up to $3 a shloka.
Oh.
And then
You
at
know what?
20,
I
it
sort
goes
of-
up to
there is
$5 a
formula, I
shloka.
bet. There's a
Huh?
formula, like a financial formula to make
Yeah,
a kid
growth.
learn more shlokas.
Yeah.
And then you could trade it all in and get a mini bike. Shlokas for mini bikes.
That could be
That's
dangerous.
like a game show.
I don't want to see
Get a
Tarun
bunch
driving
of
around on a
kids.
mini bike.
You get a bunch of kids together and you start, ready? Learn that shloka.
And you're revving up the mini bike.
Where am I? I'm riding around on a track. There's a bear riding the mini bike. Wait, what? Oh, we have to go. We have another meeting. We have a Bhakti recovery meeting. We got to go. Hey, people, it's a beautiful day. For a beautiful day, let the magic flow. Mwah.